So you could tell we're a little bit of a Philly sports fans over here. Got the Flyers colors back here. We got the Eagles helmet back here. I got Hall of Fame basketball player Allen Iverson right here. We were actually going to practice this, and Allen was just like, "Practice? We talking about practice?" So I was like, "You're right, man. Let's just do it live and let's just roll with it and see exactly where everything goes." So Um, basically, this is the launch. This is our first live video right now, but this is the launch of our YouTube channel. We've had it up now for about 2 weeks. We put a lot of time and energy into it. And the channel is called Car Buying Tips. And we provide the answers to your car buying questions. So the whole point of the channel is to help you become more knowledgeable on, car buying tips or procedures when it comes to buying a car. We want you to be more knowledgeable because the transaction as a whole is better when you know exactly what you're talking about. So you know what the expectations are when you come into a dealership or you buy online or wherever you want to buy a car. We just want to give you the answers to your car buying questions, and a lot of people have the same questions. So we thought, wouldn't it be great to just put all the answers to these questions in one spot, a la YouTube, which is the perfect platform for this? So we're providing a bunch of different videos on common questions that we get. Whether you want to talk about different types of financing, questions about leasing, questions about warranties, trade-ins. You want to talk about trade-ins and how to get the most for your trade or any of these different types of things. We're providing you all the answers to these types of questions. So if that's something that interests you and you want to support the channel, make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of our weekly content. The point of this live stream right now is we'd love to do live Q&A. We need, obviously we want to get your feedback if you've watched some of the videos. We also want to know, what other questions do you have? We'd love to give you the answers right now. If we have a really good question that's in depth and a little bit more complicated than just a simple answer on here, then we're going to create, a video for it. So if you have a really good question, you might see a video pertaining to just that. So please ask us anything. What's up, Santino? And we'd love to give you an answer if we can on the spot. We'll at least provide you some type of answer now. And like I said, if it's in depth, we'll create a whole video on it. Getting right into it, a lot of people right now have been asking us what's going on with inventory. And obviously, everybody knows it's because of the microchips. We hear that all the time, but I don't think people actually understand the scenario that brought us to where we're at right now. And when it comes to microchips, the exact scenario and the reason that we're in this issue of a low inventory, high demand, obviously is because of the pandemic. And when you look at, March of 2020, March, April, May, somewhere around there, when that pandemic hit, manufacturers started to cut production of vehicles because they didn't anticipate the demand for vehicles being strong because of the pandemic. At the same time, consumer electronic spending increased tremendously. People were at home, things like laptops, video games, phones, things like that. They all use similar microchips to what cars have. And the biggest thing to remember, too, it's not one microchip per car. These cars have hundreds, if not thousands, of microchips, depending upon how well equipped these vehicles are. The more equipment in them, the more technology, the more microchips that it takes. So that's also part of the problem. They take a bunch of microchips. Then it also takes a really long time for these things to be built. So you're talking about 2 to 3 month lead time to make a microchip. It takes 2 to 3 months to make a microchip. So you really need to be prepped and ready for these things in advance. So because car manufacturers, slash production, because consumer electronics kind of took over and started placing those orders because they saw a huge rise in demand for those in consumer electronic spending, these microchip facilities, which really are disproportionate in terms of how many factories make microchips. There's not a lot of factories at all that make microchips. So it's kind of like car manufacturers beholden to these very few amount of factories. So the output is can definitely be hurt by something like this pandemic, and obviously was. They're located in Asia. It's just, when they started realizing, okay, the car industry is bouncing back a little bit faster than we anticipated, and then it picked up steam and then it took off, they had to start placing orders for these chips. Now, normal lead time might be 2 to 3 months, but because of consumer electronic spending, these microchips were already, you know, um, accounted for. So they had these pre-orders in. Now the new car manufacturers need to wait extremely long lead times, which is kind of what we're in right now, upwards of 12 to 15 months lead time when they order these chips. They kind of were stuck in a predicament where they're like, man, we're going to run out of cars. They started building vehicles with less equipment. So, for example, if they had a vehicle with blind spot detection, now they're cutting blind spot detection out of this vehicle, and they're they're putting it out with less features. They started building vehicles at the factory without microchips in them. So it became like cars were sitting until the microchips kind of get in there. Another thing that really bit them in the rear was the fact that they did just in time production strategy, meaning that as soon as these vehicles came out of the production plan, they were just built. Then the microchips would arrive in time and they put it in on the spot. They did this to kind of reduce costs on their inventory. They didn't want to hold a bunch of inventory. Well, in a pandemic, this completely backfired on them. So the fact that they weren't stockpiled with microchips, that they were ordering after there was a huge spike in demand for consumer electronics, is kind of what started this whole entire thing. Not to mention there was a fire in one of the biggest plants and producers of microchips in Taiwan, which stunted things for a real long period of time as well. So now what you're seeing is a situation where we might not get back to normal until summer 2022, January 2023. Inventory might be really tight, which is why you're seeing a huge increase in used car values. When you consider your trade-in vehicles from a consumer standpoint, you can get a ridiculous amount of money for your trade right now because dealers, people that try to buy these cars and resell them, they can't find them anywhere. You have rental car companies which can't buy these vehicles from manufacturers anymore because they just don't have the supply. So they're holding on to their vehicles longer. Typically, rental companies will sell to these dealers, and they're an easy way to kind of get more units on the lot. So they're not doing that right now. So all the dealers, all the people that are buying these cars and reselling them are all looking at the same places, and they're all bidding up these cars really high. Well, if you're a consumer with a trade right now, if you can find the vehicle that you want, it's a great time to trade that vehicle in. So, keep that in mind. I mean, day supply for a dealer right now is kind of crazy. I mean, day supply is basically if we have 15 cars on the lot, which is like nothing compared to what we usually have, and we sell 5 cars per day, that's a 3-day supply. Typically, dealers are used to a 60 to 90-day supply. So now we're talking about within a week supply. So we have to hope some cars trickle in as we sell these vehicles. And that's kind of what everybody's really going through right now. So the demand for used cars is flying through the roof. So if you do have a trade, like I said, you could find that vehicle that you want. Now's a great time to really just see what your car is worth at the very least. So crazy times right now. But that's basically the gist of the microchip issue. Essentially, car manufacturers cut production. Consumer electronics started ordering. By the time car manufacturers started to order, lead times were crazy long, and that kind of leads us to where we're at right now. And hopefully, like I said, they keep kind of pushing it back. Summer of 2022, quarter one 2023 is kind of when they see it kind of easing and going back to normal. So we'll kind of see and keep you abreast of that situation too. It kind of brings us to one of the other questions that we have too, that we hear a lot. We're actually coming out with a video on this too. So I'll be somewhat vague, so you'll watch the video as well. But how to get the most for your trade. When it comes to your trade-in value, I would tell you that the best way to get the most money for your trade is know what your vehicle is worth before you actually go into wherever you're buying from. So whether you're buying online, whether you're going to a car dealership, know what your vehicle is worth. And I'm not talking about an estimate. I'm talking about a real value. One of the things that the pandemic did, it showed you that there's convenient ways to do things. And getting a trade-in value right now, you have a bunch of people competing for this. So there's easy ways, sitting on your couch, filling out a couple of forms to get real offers. KBB instant cash offer is a great one. That's, if you're dealing with a dealer that's an instant cash offer, partner, they'll give you a real number for your trade. If the dealer chooses not to buy that car, KBB will buy that car. So it's a real number on that car. Granted, you fill out everything correctly. CarMax does it, Carvana, Vroom. Everybody's willing to give you a number for your trade. And you don't necessarily need to sell the vehicle to those people, but at least you can, figure out what the real value of your vehicle is or what somebody's willing to pay for it. The best thing to do, more or less, is to bring that trade-in amount to wherever you want to buy the car from, because the best scenario is always getting the most money from the person you're buying the car from. The reason being is tax credits. So if you can get, 3 offers from places that allow you to fill out information online and generate a number for you, bring that into the place you want. If they at least give you, say you got $9,000 was your highest number. If they will at least give you that, if not more, um, then you pick up tax credits as well. So, for example, if you're buying a $20,000 vehicle and your car's worth $9,000, well, you're only paying taxes on $11,000, the difference between what the car's selling for and what you're getting for your trade-in. So if you can get the high number and then pick up tax credits on top of it, I mean, that's really what I would consider the best way to get the most money for your trade-in value. Or if you're savvy and you want to, you don't mind being a car salesman and sell something on Facebook Marketplace, that's also another way that you can sell, and get the most for your trade if you don't mind selling it at retail. But that's a lot of work. You're going to have to deal with a lot of people messaging you, test drives, things happen after the sale, but that's also another good approach too if you wanted to do it that way. Let's look at the next question here. Why does buying a car have to be so hard? This isn't necessarily a question that we get a lot, but this is a question that a lot of people ask. Whether it's like, being at parties, they find out what line of business I'm in, and then they ask, why is it so hard to buy a car? I would tell you that it's really easy to buy a car, and there are some dealers out there that make it hard, but your first impression of people really is online. Um, so, when you go online, you could check out reviews. You can go on their website. What type of convenient things do they offer? Do they do some of the, stuff that started during the pandemic, and came out and people really like, whether it be at-home test drives, buying 100% online, instant cash offers for trade, 24-hour test drives? Do they have a return policy? Am I able to get the numbers up front without any human interaction unless I have a question? Those are all things that you can kind of really ask, because if you can do everything online before you get there, the expectations are set. And if things are transparent and you can get the numbers that you desire right away, it really shouldn't be hard to buy a car. I think everybody mentally, whether it's going to the dentist, whether it's buying a car, there's things mentally that you just don't look forward to. And another part of the reason that we started this channel is we don't want there to be a stigma about buying a car. We want it to be a fun experience. And I think with all the technology that's out there right now, with all the conveniences that some dealers are willing to offer, I think buying a car is only going to get easier. And I think if I can help you answer some of the basic questions and some complicated questions, I think you guys will feel more comfortable when it comes to buying a vehicle. So that's the long and short of that. Let's look into the next question. So, why do dealers submit credit to so many banks? This is something that we hear a lot from customers. Why do dealers submit? Why did you submit me all over to all these different banks? Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be, I don't want to say fearful, but you should definitely look out for your credit information and make sure you keep that safe. But at the same time, when it comes to mortgages and when it comes to car loans, you're allowed to submit your credit to a bunch of different places. So, it's one of those things where, it only counts as one inquiry. Even though you're submitting to multiple banks, people think it's multiple inquiries. It's really only one inquiry. And that's one of the things that I think people are most scared about, is it's going to be a big hit on my credit. It's only 5 points or less. You have 30 days to rate shop. So in reality, this is something that a dealer does to make sure that you can get the best approval, and make sure they can, give you the best rate, things like that. So you think it's hurting you, but in reality, it's actually helping you. So let's take a look at, one of the questions, or one of the live Q&As. We got Larry Clark. What's going on, Larry? Can I sell without a trade to a dealer? Absolutely. I mean, you can sell your trade to a dealer without buying something else. So can I sell without a trade? Wait, maybe I misread that. Can I sell without a trade? I'm guessing maybe you mean, can I buy without a trade or can I sell without buying something else? If that is your question, can I sell without buying something else? Yes, you definitely can. Um, it's very easy process. Like I said, try to deal with somebody that makes it easy. It's a transparent process. You might even be able to get a number before you come in. Like I said, there's KBB instant cash offer with some dealers where that's kind of a guaranteed number by KBB as long as you put in the correct information. You bring it into the dealer, they verify it, they cut you a check on the spot. It's done. As long as you have the title and everything that you need in order to get that check. So, good question, Larry. Hopefully, I answered it properly because it came over a little wonky, but thanks for asking, dude. I appreciate it. One of the other questions that we get, a lot of people have questions. Can I sell? Okay. Can I sell without buying? Okay. Yes, that's what it is. Got it. So a lot of the other questions that we get right now, people are curious about what the future of EVs are. We got a lot of questions because Tesla's doing so well. Are EVs here to stay? What do we feel the future of the EV vehicles? What that looks like? I would tell you that most manufacturers right now have a plan to become fully electric at one point in time. I know, for example, they're starting to trend this way now. I know Kia has multiple electric vehicles already. Nissan has an electric vehicle. Kia's coming out with an EV6, which looks really good. They spent a lot of time and energy on that vehicle. That's going to be coming out Q1 2022. Also, the Nissan Aria is coming out for Nissan. That's a great looking vehicle. And all these manufacturers have plans set in place. I know Kia by 2027 is going to have 7 fully electric vehicles ready to go. By 2030, Nissan expects like 40% of their sales to be electric vehicles. So you see a lot of infrastructure happening right now. I think, the future of EV vehicles is here to stay. The infrastructure plans with charging stations and things like that, they're getting easier and easier. Price points are coming down. You're starting to see more electric chargers even at dealers and different spots. So I would tell you, if you're, curious about an electric vehicle, but a little bit scared to kind of, jump in because it's not mainstream yet other than Tesla, a lot of these car manufacturers right now are committing to electric vehicles. So I wouldn't be scared to try those out for sure. I mean, they're really, really nice vehicles. One of the coolest things about electric cars too, when you're driving those things, they are super fast. They accelerate really fast. It's a different feel when you let off the gas. It's almost like a braking feeling. I got the opportunity to drive the EV6. That was a really awesome car. They're just different. They drive different, and they're only going to get better and better as technology advances. I think, obviously, I think they're here to stay, and I think you're going to see more and more manufacturers competing with Tesla, probably better than they are right now. Even if Tesla is, one of the leaders, I think the manufacturers are going to keep up eventually. So that's kind of where I see that going. Another question we get a lot: can I trade my lease in early, even if my lease isn't over? And the long and short of that is yes. You can trade in your lease whenever you want. You can buy your lease, or you can lease a car. You can wait 2 months, and then you can trade that vehicle in. It really depends on you. It depends on the value of your vehicle. It works like if you were to buy the car, finance it. You have a payoff on the vehicle. You have a value for your vehicle. The difference then gets tacked onto the other deal, or it works as equity on that other deal. Right now, we're able to get people out of leases that they still have 2 years remaining on it. We trade that vehicle in. Most of the time right now, they have equity in that car, which is crazy. Leases are never designed to allow customers to have equity that they could use as a down payment towards another vehicle. So that's something that we're seeing a lot of right now. It was happening so frequently that manufacturers are making it near impossible to, go from one brand to another right now. They're locking you into that contract. They're either not allowing an off-brand, say you bought from Kia and you lease from Kia and now you want a Nissan. Nissan cannot buy that car out. Some manufacturers are even they're allowing them to buy it out, but they're jacking up what the dealer has to pay for it if it's being traded in, which doesn't allow, customers to really use the equity there. So if customers want to do it, they almost have to buy out their lease, and then trade it into the dealership, which is a little bit time consuming, but could potentially be worth it because you're getting so much equity out of that right now, which is almost like money down. So the long and short of that is when you're going from the same brand to the same brand, it's extremely easy. If you want to go from the brand you're currently with to another brand, that might require more steps. That's actually a really good question. Maybe we'll do a video on that because it's a little bit more complicated. So I like that one a lot. So maybe we'll do a video on that. Let's see what else we got. What's better, leasing or buying? We actually have a video on our channel right now that explains that in different variations. Leasing new versus buying used, leasing new versus buying new. I think we have like 3 videos on that, so I won't. So check those out if you're curious about that. But I'll vaguely kind of say the one thing that I always ask people is, do you drive a lot of miles? If you're under 15,000 miles, I would tell you leasing is great. Um, and if you don't mind, having a car payment, consistently, your payments are always going to be lower. You're always under manufacturer warranty. You're always in the latest and greatest. I kind of like those aspects of leasing. If you drive too many miles, I would never really encourage you to lease. You do have the ability to buy out that lease at the end without, having any mileage penalties. But if you're just going to do that, I would say take a little bit of a higher payment and finance the vehicle up front. Even though, like I said, your payment might be a little bit higher. You'll probably pay less interest doing it that way, to be honest with you, even though your payment's a little bit higher. So those are the things that I kind of always go through. It's a preference. I mean, a lot of people don't want to lease because they say, I don't own the vehicle. The reality is you don't own the vehicle, whether you lease or whether you finance. If you finance the vehicle, you don't own it until you pay it off and you have the title in hand. So if that's the reason you're not considering a lease, I would tell you to reconsider. Should I be looking at certified vehicles since new vehicles are, um, you know, not as available as they once were? That's a great question. I think certified vehicles, we just started certifying a lot of our vehicles on the lot. I think certifications um, provide a great value right now. You're getting a lot of the warranties that come with a new car, a new car, whether it be powertrain, comprehensive. You're kind of getting a little bit of both, and it's extending that out. You're able to buy them at better prices. They're reconditioned better than used vehicles. So there's a lot of really good reasons to buy certified. We actually have a video on that coming out as well. So if you're curious about that topic of what is a certified pre-owned, make sure you check that one out. I think that's on our channel right now. So I think we have about 6 or 7 videos on our channel right now. We have more coming out. We're going to be trying to release at least 1 per week, or 2 per week. And like I said, the whole point is to just kind of make car buying easier for you, and hopefully answer some of your questions that you guys have. That way, if we can come up with all the answers, you guys will come in here and know everything. It'll be a much more pleasant experience. And like I said, setting those expectations so there's no worry when you come in is kind of the main goal. No matter whether you buy from us or buy from anywhere, we want you to know what you should know before you buy a car. So William Fraser, he said, if I want to trade, hopefully I'm saying that right, Fraser, if I want to trade my 2017 Kia Sorento in for a Pathfinder, can I use my salesperson from Kia to buy the Pathfinder? We don't actually allow cross-selling right now, William, but at the same time, if you want to do that, you're the customer, man. So we're going to make it work for you. So whoever your salesperson is, whoever you prefer, we'll work that out for you, man. No worries. So Yvette Davis, what if you still owe money on the one I have and want to get a new car with low credit? So if you still owe money on the vehicle that you have and you want to get a new car, it's important to understand what your vehicle is worth. So like I said before, because of this microchip issue and everything that's going on, you really have an opportunity to get the most money you're ever going to get for your trade. They're almost like an appreciable asset. It's almost like real estate right now. If you were to buy a car a year ago, you almost might be able to get more money for it right now than what you bought it at. It's kind of crazy that I've never seen that before in the car business. So first thing I would tell you to do, Yvette, whoever your salesperson is or whoever you work with, or even if you want to go right on our website and fill out a KBB ICO, you have the ability to do that right under trade in or sell. Fill that out, see what your vehicle is worth. and let's try. I mean, we work with a lot of different banks, prime, subprime. So that's really the first step. Let's see if you have any equity in that trade. If you don't have equity in the trade, it doesn't mean we can't help, but that would probably be the first step, is taking a look at the trade. All right, so it sounds like you already did that. So Kelly Blue Book says that you owe $5,000. It said that the vehicle is worth $5,000. Do you know how much you owe on that vehicle? Once you figure out how much you owe on the car, um, I'll wait till you actually type it back if you're live with us. But once you actually figure out what you owe on that vehicle, you can figure out whether you're in an equitable position or not in an equitable position. And like I said, even if you're not, doesn't mean we can't help. Um, And then also, if it's not something that can be done, we deal with a lot of banks that accept cosigners and things like that, if that's also an option. So there's always different ways to get creative and try to figure something out for you, for sure. All right, so it's $12,000. So your car's worth 5, you owe 12 on it. I would try to bring it into the dealership. Maybe it's worth a little bit more than 5. Just because KBB says it's worth $5,000 doesn't mean we don't look at it for more money. I mean, like I said, used cars are extremely hard to get. If you have time, bring it into the dealership. We'll take a look at it, and we can see exactly what that vehicle is worth, 5, if not more than that. And then we'll try to submit it into a bank and see what we can get done. If we're not able to get it done, we'll at least tell you what needs to happen in order for this deal to come, to fruition. Any other questions? Is there anything else? I'm looking at the chat overlay right now. I mean, more or less, we went through all the questions that we get a lot of, asked about, and we went through those answers with you. I was happy to answer some of the questions on here. We're going to try to do something like this, maybe like once a month. Like I said, this is our first live feed, but the channel is Car Buying Tips, answers to your car buying questions. Once a week, we'll be putting out a video. If not, twice a week, we'll be putting out a video. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the notification bell. Looks like our 30 minutes is kind of up, so we're gonna get rolling. Um, and if you guys have any other questions, feel free. You could always message us, leave a comment in the video section, things like that. So we will talk to you guys soon. It was a pleasure. Bye.